जगते जाना तो के, यदि गौर न होय तो तबे की होय तो की मोने धरे तांबे। मधुर वृंदा विपिन माधुरी प्रवेश चातुरी सा। मधुर वृंदा विपिन माधुरी प्रवेश चातुरी सा। व्रज युवती भावे भक्ति शकति होय तो कार। व्रज युवती भावे भक्ति शकति होय तो कार। यदि गौर न होय तो तबे की होय तो की मोने धरि तांबे। गाव गाव पुनः गौरांगीर्गुण शरण कोरिया मान। गाव गाव पुनः गौरांगीर्गुण शरण कोरिया मान। हे भाव सागरे हे मोन दयाल ना देखिए एक जाना। हे भाव सागरे हे मोन दयाल ना देखिए एक जाना। यदि गौर न होय तो तबे की होय तो की मोने धरि तांबे। गौरांगा बोलिया नागे नु गलिया की मोने धोरी नु दे। गौरांगा बोलिया नागे नु गलिया के मोने धोरी नु दे। वासुरिया पाषाण दिया के मोने कड़िया छे। वासुरिया पाषाण दिया हे मोने गड़िया छे। यदि गौर न होय तो तबे की होय तो की मोने धरे तांबे। राधार प्रेम रस सीमा जगते जाना तो के। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
Hare Krishna Mataji. Wonderful Kirtan Mataji. Very nice. Let's begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Sandrupakatamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna everyone, welcome. Today Mohan Das Prabhuji didn't join because he's not well, I think. So I'll post the link in the end, the attendance link. So today we have to do prayers by Kardama Muni. So it is in chapter 23 from verse 28. But before we go to the prayers directly, there are like 5 slokas we have to do. 5 slokas. We'll learn a little about Kardama Muni. Who was Kardama Muni and who was Devahuti and why Kardama Muni is offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'll see some background. So let's start with the conversation between Manu and Kardama Muni. This Swayambhuva Manu has a daughter, Devahuti. Actually, she has brothers Priyavrata and Uttanapada also. We have heard about all these great personalities. So Swayambhuva Manu wants to offer Devahuti to Kardama Muni. And it is all done, whatever Swayambhuva Manu does is based on the orders of Brahma. So they follow the etiquette very nicely. Brahma orders something, whatever he says, Kardama Muni does. So now, let's go through this little. Vidura is speaking all this to Maitreya Muni in Bhagavatam. He is the one narrating all this. So now, the two great sons of Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavrat and Uttanpad, ruled the world consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. Now, let's see where we have to start from. Commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children in the worlds, the worshipful Kardama Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for a period of 10,000 years. Now, Kardama Muni has been ordered by Brahma, commanded by Lord Brahma. Kardama Muni is actually a Prajapati, it is given. So he has to follow this instruction. He practiced penance on the bank of the river Saraswati for 10,000 years. Why is that? It says, he has to become a grasta, marry an eligible, appropriate, whoever is suitable, he has to marry, get a proper wife, and then get children. Now, because there's too much to read, so we'll just see the summary of the whole thing. So the Lord actually appears and Kardama Muni expresses his desire. See, let's open this. Desiring to marry a girl of like disposition. Like disposition, what does that mean? Prabhupada explains. Who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life. To satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. Now, see what is happening is, what is our ultimate goal of life? Is to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, to become pure devotees, go back to Godhead, be His eternal servants, and we are His eternal servants. We have to consciously serve Him. That is our that should be our ultimate goal of life. Let us read this. What is saying? In spite of his condemning persons who approached the Lord for material advantages, Kardama Muni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition. See, we should not approach Krishna for material desires. That's what we have been learning too. So he is saying that the phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. Similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. A Brahmana girl would never marry a Kshatriya boy. They would make sure, there is no kind of clash. So, because the natures have to match also. So here is saying, the similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriages take place without such consultation, and therefore, soon after the marriage, there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives, but nowadays it is very difficult task. So he's saying, I want somebody of like disposition. Kardama Muni wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate who has great wealth, very good sons, and a very good wife. Of these three, that is great wealth, good sons, and good wife. One who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. So now, actually, one who wants a nice wife, good wife, worships Uma, that is Mother Parvati. But here, what is Kardama Muni doing? He is worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly because that is what is recommended in Bhagavatam. The Lord is like a desire tree. You can go to Him for any desire, He will fulfill it. So whether He is full of desires, has no desire, or desireless, desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. So now, the advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. But after he marries Devahuti, he tells his uh, Swayambhu Manu also, after I marry her and after she has a son, I will be leaving. He wants to take sannyas. He says that. So he glorifies the Lord and then mm, he requests him to grant this desire. He prays. Having come to know what was in your mind, the Supreme Lord is telling, he says, the Supreme Lord is talking now. He's saying, having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that for which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. 10,000 years is a very long time. Severe austerity and penance he has performed. So the Lord is very happy. Now, the Emperor Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteous acts, has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 continents, 7 oceans. Actually, this is being discussed in the morning class also, 5:45 a.m. class. Mataji has been discussing about these 7 oceans and this structure of the universe and who is ruling and so many things. It looks so complicated actually. She actually shares the image of the universe also. What is in Bhagavatam, the islands and oceans. She's describing all that. So the day after tomorrow, Brahmana is calling Kardama Muni a Brahmana. That celebrated emperor, who is that Swayambhava Manu, who is expert in religious activities, will come here with his queen Shatarupa, wishing to see you. So Shatarupa and Swayambhava Manu, they appear. And then this girl, Devahuti, will have 9 daughters, and then finally she will have a son who is none other than the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. He says, I am going to appear in your family. He's saying, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles of categories. We'll see who those 9 daughters are also. They are all great personalities like Arundhati and so many great um, daughters who marry great sages. That is also given. So now what happens? Maitreya Muni went on, thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovara, which was encircled by the river Saraswati. He gave this instruction and left. Then Kardama Muni waited, and then he appeared. Swayambhu Manu appeared, and then what happened was, see, very nicely is given the holy lake Bindu Sarovara. What does it mean? See, there is a mention of Bindu Sarovar here. Flooded by the waters of the river Saraswati, was resorted to by hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious but as sweet as nectar. Why is it called Bindu Sarovar? Says, drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. Bindu means drops of tears. That's why it's called Bindu Sarovar. So very nice given. And then how the surroundings were, how the lake was. There was all kind of flowering trees. All this explanation is given. And then here Swayambhava Manu appeared and he looked like the emperor. He's the emperor. So imagine Swayambhava Manu, not just a king of this planet, Manu himself. His body shone most brilliantly. And then Swayamvar Manu approached and saw him to be somewhat soiled, like an unpolished gem. So, Kardama Muni is like a sage who performed so much austerity. So he looks like a, Brahmana he looks like a sage. So he approached him, and then he'll say, let's go to the next chapter where we discuss the marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Because if we reach each and every paragraph, it's going to be a very long one. So, after describing the greatness of the emperor's manifold qualities and activities, the sage became silent. Kardama Muni welcomed Swayambhava Manu with a lot of respect. He glorified him. He described his greatness, and then he became quiet. He gave Manu to speak now, chance to Manu to speak. Manu is going to speak now. Now, what Manu is saying, let's see. Swayambhava Manu says, okay, he's saying here. O great sage, graciously be pleased to listen to the prayer of my humble self, for my mind is troubled by affection for my daughter. He says his daughter also wants to marry Kardama Muni. My daughter is a sister of Priyavarta and Uttanapada. She is seeking a suitable husband in terms of age, character, and good qualities. The moment she heard from sage Narada, so she had already heard about him from the sage, Narada, what did she hear? Of his noble character, learning, beautiful appearance, youth, and other virtues, she fixed her mind upon you. Swayambhavan is saying, my daughter is very much interested to marry you because she's fixed her mind upon you. Therefore, please accept her. I offer her with faith, and she is in every respect fit to be your wife and take charge of your household duties. Your wife has a lot of responsibility once she becomes a wife, she has to serve the husband very nicely. So actually, Devahuti is the princess, but she gets so lovingly she'll serve her husband. We'll see that. So the great sage replied, certainly, I have a desire to marry, and your daughter has not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage, according to the Vedic system, can take place. What does this mean? She's saying, what is her qualification to marry him? She is very nicely it's given here. It's saying, there were many considerations by Kardama Muni before accepting the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Most important is that Devahuti had first of all fixed her mind on marrying him. She did not choose to have any other man as her husband. See, mentally, physically, emotionally, and all kind of, they're very chaste. The girls, how chaste she is. She's already fixed her mind on him. She doesn't have any other man in her mind. She won't even consider anybody. That is a great consideration because female psychology dictates that when a woman offers her heart to a man for the first time, it is very difficult for her to take it back. So much psychology is being explained in Bhagavatam. So, since she had already decided in her mind, Kardama Muni thought this is the perfect match. Also, she had not married before. She was not married before. She is a what is the opposite of bachelor? What do you say? There's a word to that. No, she's not married. She was a virgin girl. All these considerations convinced Kardama Muni to accept her. Therefore, he said, yes, I shall accept your daughter under religious regulations of marriage. There are different kinds of marriages. There is Rakshasa marriage, Gandharva marriage. We discuss all this in Krishna book also, right? This mention is there. So there are different kinds of marriage, of which the first class marriage is held by inviting a suitable bridegroom for the daughter and giving her in charity, well dressed and well decorated with ornaments, along with the dowry according to the means of the father. There are other kinds of marriage, such as Gandharva marriage and marriage by love, which are also accepted as marriage. Even if one is forcibly kidnapped and later on accepted as a wife, that is also accepted. But Kardama Muni accepted the first class way of marriage because the father was willing and the daughter was qualified. She had never offered her heart to anyone else. All these considerations made Kardama Muni agree to accept the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Honestly, it's given, no? Our Vedic system is so perfect. Then what happens? The beloved daughter of Swayambhuva Manu and sister of Uttanpad. What wise man would not welcome her, the very ornament of womanhood? It seems she was very beautiful, very, very beautiful. Once one Gandharva was flying in an airplane and he saw her on the terrace and he fell off from the plane because of her beauty. She was so beautiful. And then but he says, after she has a child, I shall accept the life of devotional service. Accepted by the most perfect human beings. Now, the highest authority for me is the unlimited Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom this wonderful creation emanates, and in whom sustenance and dissolution rest. He is the origin of all Prajapatis. The personality is meant to produce living entities in this world. So he is ready. Now, Empress Shatarupa lovingly gave most valuable presents suitable for the occasion. She gave jewelry, clothes, household articles in dowry, and then he was relieved of his responsibility, it says, because that is a big responsibility, right? Finding a suitable groom for the daughter is a very huge responsibility. So he handed over his daughter properly, just like Vedic system. And then he was obviously he felt separation, and then they cried. Then he went back. Then he was welcomed. How Swayambhuva Manu was welcomed back, that also is given. He was a saintly king and everybody welcomed him back, and he was very happy to have given his daughter to Kardama Muni. And then he ruled for, see, he passed his time which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages. Swayambhuva Manu ruled for these many years. 71 times 4 lakh 320,000 years. Now let's see what happened after they got married. That is, after the wedding. Devahuti's lamentation. Chapter 23. She served him with great love. After the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly, just like how Mother Parvati takes care of Lord Shiva. She serves him too, very nicely, just like that. I mean, imagine comparing somebody to Mother Parvati. That's like a big thing, it's huge. So how nicely it's given, how a wife should serve a Krishna conscious husband. So nicely it's given. Devoti served her husband with intimacy, great respect, with control of the senses, with love, and with sweet words. Working sanely and diligently, she pleased her very powerful husband because he had performed so much penance and austerity. He had a lot of powers. He had powers because that we'll see now. Actually, he'll create a ship which is as big as a city. It can fly. It's an airplane. So, very powerful husband, giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than providence. She looked upon him as it is the greatest thing in the entire creation. So much love, so much respect for him. What happened? While she was serving him so much, she ignored her own health. She was neglecting her own health. She became very weak. Out of compassion, one day the Muni notices that, Kardama Muni notices, oh, she's become so weak, so thin. He's now suddenly he becomes compassionate. He looks at her and says, he spoke to her in a voice choked with great love. He says, what is this? You have not been taking care of yourself. You must take care of the body, right? He's very, very happy with her excellent service, but he says, you must take care. And then her husband, Kardama Muni, can give her not just ordinary gifts, transcendental gifts, all the pious credits and everything he has. Transcendental gifts are beyond that, all this. See, a person, if the husband is Krishna conscious, the wife also gets benefit. So she gets all those benefits. He gifts her a lot of things. Now she requests him Once upon a time, you promised that we'll have children, and now she does have want to have a son. She just asked for children right now, but she'll have nine daughters and then have a son. You once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband. So she's reminding him of his promise. Then what happens is he makes arrangements for that. First of all, he helps her. She has to look good. She has to become healthy. If she wants to have children, she has to be healthy. So here, see. Devahuti continued, my dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures, so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. So they have to create an environment of passion, because they are right now in a nice hermitage, which is in the mode of goodness. So she's requesting to make proper arrangements. My lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose. Then what does he do? He creates a wonderful structure bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. He makes a castle which can fly. Imagine which normal human being can create something like this. He has so much power because of all his elevated consciousness and his austerity and everything. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia. It was pleasing in all seasons, decorated with flags and festoons, artistic work for variegated colors. So the palace looked charming with, you can imagine, we have seen mansions, images of mansions, pictures of mansions, and so many palaces. Sometimes we visit palaces, we go touring and see the palace, castles and all. So we can imagine how beautiful this must have been. It was very big, like a city. The palace was extremely beautiful. It had coral thresholds at the entrances and doors bedecked with diamonds. Wow. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of swans and pigeons. Now, okay, after this, what happens? The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Okay, what happens is there are some maid servants who want to clean her and dress her up now. Okay. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of the matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Then, in a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, not one or two maid servants. There were 1,000 girls, all very young and looking very beautiful. They all came. They said, we are your maid servants. Tell us what we can do for you. Then the girls very respectfully bathed her with valuable oils and ointments, fine dress and everything. And then see, they decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet, inebriating drink called asavam. After all this, she dressed. See, she wore necklace, she wore girdle of gold around her waist, and then um, all kind of jewels, and she did makeup and everything. Now she is fine. Then she has in the aerial mansion, they fly and they go so many places. They enjoyed for a long time, it says. They had a very nice grahastha life for a long time, many, many years, it says. Surrounded by the beautiful damsels, and his wife Kardama Muni enjoyed for many, many years. See, there were different gardens, all the name is given. Vaishrambhaka, Surasana, Nandana, Pushpadhaka, and Chaitra Ratya, and by the Manasa Sarovara. Like they see so many beautiful places. And then finally, what does he do? Here it is. After coming back to his hermitage, he divided himself into 9 personalities. Imagine, we know from Krishna book, Krishna could be present in all of the palaces at once with all of his wives. Just like that, he divided himself into 9 personalities just to give pleasure to Devoti. And then, because of this, she gives birth to 9 female children. That's what is given. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he impregnated Devaki and then Devahuti, and Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of the red lotus flower. You have a child, I'm going to leave. He wants to become a sannyasi. He'll go and leave, completely absorb himself in the thoughts of the Lord, dedicate he'll meditate upon the Lord and then he'll not be a grasta anymore. But then she reminds him that she wants a son. She says, you gave me, see, my Lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me, yet because I'm your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too. How do you get that? If you have, how do you get that fearlessness? She's saying she wants a son. So she says, until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time in sense gratification, neglecting to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the objects of the senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fear. Now, let's see what happens next. Recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, because he told him that I will appear in your family as your son. So he remembers that. He recalls that. The merciful sage Kardama replied as follows to Swayambhava Manu's praiseworthy daughter Devahuti, who was speaking words full of renunciation. Do not be disappointed with yourself, O princess. You are actually praiseworthy. She's saying, I wasted my time like this. So you are praiseworthy. The infallible supreme personality of Godhead will shortly enter your womb as your son. You have undertaken sacred vows. God will bless you. Hence, you should worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observances, austerities, and gifts of your money in charity. And the personality of Godhead will spread my name and fame. He will vanquish the knot of your heart by becoming your son and teaching knowledge of Brahman. We know Kapila Muni, he's going to appear as a son. Kapila Muni actually, the teachings of Kapila. There's a book, Teachings of Kapila. It is, Prabhupada has translated. It's there, available very much. We can buy and read, or it's in Vedabase also, Teachings of Sage Kapila, who was the son of Devahuti. He instructs his mother with all the spiritual knowledge, everything. So Maitreya Muni again continues. He says, Devahuti was fully faithful and respectful toward the direction of her husband. Kardama was one of the Prajapatis. Who is a Prajapati? Generator of human beings in the universe. They populate the universe. Then, O great sage, she thus began to worship the master of the universe, who is situated in everyone's heart. Then what happened? Madhusudana, who is none other than Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Madhusudana means killer of the demon, Madhu. He entered. And then just as a fire comes from wood in a sacrifice, Kardama Muni, uh, you know, mm, and Devhuti had a son. At the time of his descent on earth, demigods in the form of raining clouds sounded musical instruments in the sky. The celestial musicians, the Gandharvas, sang the glories of the Lord, while celestial dancing girls, known as Apsaras, danced in joyful ecstasy. The Lord has taken so many incarnations. There are so many incarnations. We know a few incarnations, and whatever we read from Bhagavatam, we have that much information. But they say so many, innumerable incarnations are there of the Lord, which we may not be aware of at all. So much is there. So when he appeared, the demigods, everybody was rejoicing. Now let's see what happens. Lord Brahma said, my dear son Kardama, since you have completely accepted my instructions without duplicity, showing them proper respect, you have worshipped me properly. Whatever instructions you took from me, you have carried out, because that was the instruction of Lord Brahma. He said, get married, have children. Thereby you have honored me. son out to render service to their father exactly to this extent. The father is, if the father, just like Lord Ram set an example, right? He followed his father's instructions. But we see in Prahlad Maharaj's case, he knew what was right. He was Krishna conscious. His father was not. So he did not obey his father. Instead, he was teaching his father. So we see so many examples from Shastras, how a father should be, respected, how he should, is a leader. Father is a natural leader. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, "Yes, sir." Now, Lord Brahma then praised Kardama Muni's 9 daughters, saying, "All your thin-waisted daughters are certainly very chaste. I am sure they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways." Then he says, "Give away your daughters to the foremost of the sages with due regard for the girls' temperaments and likings." It's very important. Girls' temperaments and likings should match the husband or the suitable boy, groom, and thereby spread your fame all over the universe. So now Kapila Muni, how does Kapila Muni look? How does the sun look? He has golden hair. His eyes are like lotus petals, and his lotus feet bear the marks of lotus flowers. They will uproot the deep rooted desire for work in this material world. He can take anybody towards, he can liberate anybody, like that. So, my dear daughter of Manu, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitaba is now within your womb. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubt. Then he will travel all over the world. Your son will be the head of all the perfected souls. He will be approved by the acharyas, expert in disseminating real knowledge. Then among the people, he will be celebrated by the name Kapila as the son of Devahuti. He will increase your fame. So Lord Brahma is saying, how will Kapila Muni be? Okay, now, let's see who are the 9 daughters. Actually, we have heard about these 9 daughters. They are very, very great. After the departure of Brahma, Kardama Muni, having been ordered by Brahma, handed over his 9 daughters as instructed to the 9 great sages. Who are the great sages? Who are the 9 daughters? Kardama Muni handed over his daughter Kala to Marichi. We have heard of Marichi, right? Sage Marichi. Another daughter, Anasuya, to Atri. You know Anasuya? We have heard a lot about Anasuya, Mother Anasuya. And there was Shraddha, who was delivered to Angira Rishi. Havirbhu to Pulastya Rishi. See, they're great sages. And then Gati to Pulaha. The chaste Kriya to Kratu. Khyati to Bhrugumuni. And Arundhati to Vashishta. See, Devahuti gave birth to Arundhati, Anasuya. I mean, these are all great names. He delivered Shanti to Atharva. Who is this Shanti? Because of Shanti, sacrificial ceremonies are well performed. Thus, he got the foremost Brahmanas married and he maintained them along with their wives. Now, Kardama Muni understood that the boy that was born was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, himself. So, what he does is he takes the baby, like he understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, had descended. So he approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and this is what he said. Let's read the verses now. Okay. Aho papacyamananam niraye svair amangalaihi kalena bhuyasa nunam prasidanti devataha. Can someone read this, please? From here, we have around 5 or 6 shlokas. These are the prayers of Kardama Muni to the Lord. We can discuss this. Hare Krishna. Who would like to read?
Can I, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kardama Muni said, "Oh, after a long time, the demigods of the universe have become pleased with the suffering soul who are in material entanglement because of their own misdeeds." Purport. This material world is a place for the suffering which is due to the misdeeds of the inhabitants, the conditioned souls themselves. The sufferings are not extraneously imposed upon them. Rather, the conditioned soul create their own sufferings by their own acts. In the forest, fire takes place automatically. It is not the someone has to go there and set the fire because of the friction among the various trees. Fire occurs automatically. When there is too much heat from the forest fire, of this material world, the demigods, including Brahma himself being harassed, approached the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and appealed to him to elevate the condition. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends in other worlds when the demigods become distressed by the suffering of the conditioned soul. They approach the Lord to remedy the sufferings, and personality of Godhead descended. When the Lord descends, all the demigods became unleavened. Therefore, Kardama Muni said, after many, many years of human suffering, all the demigods are now satisfied because Kapil Deva, the incarnation of Godhead, has appeared. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In the Krishna book also we read actually, because Mother Earth, she took the form of a cow and she approached Brahma, and then she prayed. All the demigods along with Brahma, everybody prayed too. They went to Kshirodaka ocean and there they prayed. And then they said, the earth is being burdened by all these demons and there's so much misery. This place is full of suffering only. It's Dukalayam Ashashvatam. Sometimes it is too much. The material world is the place of suffering, and it is all due to the misdeeds of the inhabitants, the conditioned souls themselves. We are causing it by ourselves. And happiness and distress come just like how a forest fire happens. You don't have to do anything. Sometimes fire just lights by himself. Like that, distress happens on its own. So conditioned souls face all this, and there are devotees and demigods who are um, the Lord Himself says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. So there are demigods also, devotees also. Even when Kali Yuga is at the worst stage, there will still be some devotees left, it seems. Says that. Because of them, at least some people will be saved. Because of Krishna consciousness, even 1% of the population becomes Krishna conscious, the whole world can benefit, Prabhupada says. So it's like that. So when this much suffering is going on, when the Lord appears, it is like there are so many examples given, when a baby is crying and crying, they try to calm the baby down, they pacify baby in so many different ways they try. The grandparents may give toys, or somebody is showing something and trying to uh, make the atmosphere nice. But then, as soon as the baby sees the mother, baby goes on the lap of the mother, and the mother is holding the baby. The baby already feels joy, doesn't need anything else. It's so happy with the mother. It's like that, The Lord, He's the only one. He's the only well wisher we have. He's the only maintainer. He's the one who can give us unconditional love, and He reciprocates. So when He appears, see, everybody is happy. The demigods, the devotees. When the demigods become distressed by the sufferings of the conditioned souls, they approach the Lord to remedy the suffering, and then He descends. So He's saying now, after many, many years of human suffering, now they're so happy, they're satisfied because Kapila Dev, the incarnation of Godhead, has appeared. Now let's see what he says. He's expressing his joy and he's showing gratitude. Then let's see what he says. Bahujanma vipakvena samyak yoga samadhina drashtumetante tat yaha shunyagareshu yat padam. After many births, mature yogis, by complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not easy to see the lotus feet, or, even, what do you say, even you cannot, even it's not so easy to approach Krishna. It is not at all easy. It's a very, very lengthy and tedious process. In the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita also we read how much Ashtanga Yoga, and how much it's so difficult. Ashtanga is not easy. So much austerity is required. And these yogis go to secluded places and perform severe austerities to see the Lord, to see the lotus feet of the Lord. And now he has appeared in his family. Imagine that. So he understands the significance. Who would like to read this purport, please? Hare Krishna.
Shall I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Some important things are mentioned here about yoga. The word Bahu Janma Vipakvena means after many births of mature yoga practice. And another word, Samyak Yoga Samadhina, means by complete practice of the yoga system. Complete practice of yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Unless one comes to the point of Bhakti Yoga or surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's yoga practice is not complete. The same point is corroborated in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many births, the Jnani who has matured in transcendental knowledge surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kardama Muni repeats the same statement. After many years and many births of complete practice of yoga, one can see the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in a secluded place. It is not that after one practices some sitting postures, he immediately becomes perfect. One has to perform yoga a long time, many births, to become mature. And a yogi has to practice in a secluded place. One cannot practice yoga in a city or in a public park and declare that he has become God simply by some exchange of dollars. This is all bogus propaganda. Those who are actually yogis practice in a secluded place, and after many births, they become successful, provided they surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the completion of yoga. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Prabhupada also in his lectures, he says, doing some exercise in some public park and, paying money and learning some exercise to maintain oneself. You do yoga, you can do anything. Go drink what you want, eat what you want, but do a lot of physical exercise, twist and turn your body. And then you become very healthy and you can enjoy more. Enjoy life. That is the kind of propaganda that is going on. So Prabhupada says yoga, complete yoga means what? Bhakti yoga. Complete practice of yoga means Bhakti yoga. All the yoga practice has to culminate in bhakti. Otherwise it is not yoga. So Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gnanaman Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Krishna himself says, after many births, a Gnani finally understands Vasudev is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the maintainer, he is the proprietor, he is the well-wisher, and then he'll completely surrender to Vasudev, Sri Krishna, and then he becomes a yogi, perfect yogi. That is completion of yoga. Only when they surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that becomes yoga. So, Kardama Muni is saying that. Let's see. Let's next what he says. स एव भगवान् अद्य हेलनं न गणय्यनाम् गृहेषु जातु ग्राम्याणां यः स्वानां पक्षपोषणः. Not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us, that very same Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees. Okay. So he's saying Lord is very merciful. He's so, so merciful. Krishna is actually very merciful. He is not even, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually showed that yesterday and day before yesterday. We attended so many lectures about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we can understand he's the most munificent incarnation. He's really distributing love of Krishna, which is the ultimate goal of all the Vedic knowledge. It is not easy, and they are making it so easy for us. Chant Hare Krishna, do Kirtan. The process sounds so simple. Devotees are so affectionate. Okay. Who would like to read this one, Hare Krishna?
Can I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Devotees are so affectionate toward the personality of Godhead that although he does not appear before those who practice yoga in a secluded place, even for many, many births, he agrees to appear in a householder's home where devotees engage in devotional service without material yoga practice. In other words, devotional service to the Lord is so easy that even a householder can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one of the members of the household. As his son, as Kardama Muni experienced, he was a householder, although a yogi, but he had the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Muni, as his son. Devotional service is such a powerful transcendental method that it surpasses all other methods of transcendental realization. The Lord therefore says that he lives neither in Vaikuntha nor in the heart of a yogi, but he lives where his pure devotees are always chanting and glorifying him. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsala. He is never described as Gnani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala. He is always described as Bhakta Vatsala because he is more inclined toward his devotees than toward other transcendentalists. In Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that only a devotee can understand him as he is. Bhaktya mam abhignan janati. One can understand me only by devotional service, not otherwise. That understanding alone is real because although Gnanis, mental speculators can realize only the effulgence or the bodily luster of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yogis can realize only the partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A bhakta not only realizes him as he is, but also associates with the personality of Godhead face to face. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So beautiful, Mataji. We don't have to become a sannyasi or, nothing. It's so, only a pure devotee can attract the Lord. So he's saying Bhakta Vatsala, not Nani Vatsala, Yogi Vatsala. Kardama Muni was a grahastha. He was a grahastha. He had children also. And the Lord appeared in his family as his son. And so the Lord is looking for loving devotional service. That is what he's looking for. Doesn't matter, in what situation we are in, or, whether we are, Arjuna was a grihastha, he was a kshatriya, and Krishna was his close friend. So we can understand from this, all he is looking for is loving devotion, nothing else. Kardama Muni said, we'll read this sloka also. Swiyam vakyam ritam kartum avatirno asime grihe chikirshur bhagavan jnanam bhaktanam manavardanaha. Kardama Muni said, you, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. Now he is going to enlighten his mother. She's going to sit like a student in front of him. See, age does not matter. Kardama Muni's son, Kapila Muni, is giving instructions to the mother. So, how does it, a spiritual master, see, age does not matter. If 5-year-old, Prahlad was just 5 years old when he was trying to teach his father, about devotion and about Krishna consciousness. So, age does not matter. A mother became his disciple. When the Lord appeared before Kardama Muni after his mature yoga practice, he promised that he would become Kardama's son. He descended as the son of Kardama Muni in order to fulfill that promise. Another purpose of his appearance is Chikirshur Bhagavan Jnanam, to distribute knowledge. Therefore, he is called Bhaktanam Manavardhana, he who increases the honor of his devotees by distributing Sankhya. Kapila Muni gave Sankhya philosophy. He would increase the honor of the devotees. Therefore, Sankhya philosophy is not dry mental speculation. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. How could the honor of the devotees be increased unless Sankhya were meant for devotional service? Devotees are not interested in speculative knowledge. Therefore, the Sankhya enunciated by Kapila Muni is meant to establish one firmly in devotional service. Real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. So, what is real knowledge? Given here. If somebody is knowledgeable, that means he should know that he is subservient to the Lord and he must be a surrendered soul and he must be engaged in devotional service. Such a person is self-realized and he is knowledge. He has knowledge, real knowledge. So that's given here very nicely. So what is matter? What is spirit? What is spiritual? What is material? All this knowledge, everything was being given. My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees. Can someone read this, please? Hare Krishna. We have 2 more verses. Who would like to read?
Shall I read, Mataji?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Lord is one absolute, but he has anant or innumerable forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. The Lord is the original form, but still he has multi-forms. Those multi-forms are manifested by him transcendentally according to the taste of his multi-devotees. It is understood, it is understood that once Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Ramchandra, said that he knew the Narayana, the husband of Lakshmi, and Rama, the husband of Sita, are one and the same, and there is no difference between Lakshmi and Sita. But as for himself, he liked the form of Lord Rama. In a similar way, some devotees worship the original form of Krishna. When we say Krishna, we refer to all forms of Lord, not only Krishna, but Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, Narayana, etc. The varieties of transcendental form exist simultaneously. That is also stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadi Murtishu, Nana Vataram. He already exists in multi-forms, but none of the forms are material. Sridhar Swami has commented that Arupna, without form, means without material form. The Lord has form, otherwise how can it be stated here? Tani eva te, birihi rupam rupani bhagavan tava. You have your form, but they are not material. Materially, you have no form, but spiritually, transcendentally, you have multi forms. Mayavadi's philosophers cannot understand this transcendental form of the Lord, and being disappointed, they say that the Supreme Lord is impersonal. But that is not a fact. Whenever there is a form, there is a person. Many persons in many Vedic literatures, the Lord is described as Purusha, which means the original form, the original enjoyer. The conclusion is that the Lord has no material form, yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he simultaneously exists in multi forms such as Rama, Narasimha, Varaha, Narayana, and Mukunda. There are many thousands and thousands of forms, but they're all Vishnu Tattva, Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. So we know that, Lord's forms are all transcendental. We are forced to take birth. We are pushed into, mother's womb. We can't choose because of our own karma and our own desires. We are forced to, come to this world, and mm, we are forced into some family, some, uh, you know, species of life, all this. But Lord is not like that. He can appear. He's, Atma Maya, by his own desire. He has so many incarnations, and some people are attached to Rama, some to Narsimhadev, some, say Narayana, in whatever form. As long as they are approaching the Supreme Personality of the Godhead and worshipping Him and chanting, that is still Krishna consciousness. They are going to get eternal benefits. The conclusion is that the Lord has no material form, and yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he simultaneously exists in multi forms. Then we have this. Tvam suribhisthattvabhutsayadha sada vivadarhana vadapitham aishwarya vairagya yasho avabodha virya shriya purtam aham prapadye. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir that always deserves to receive worshipful homage from all great sages, eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full in opulence, renunciation, transcendental fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty, and therefore I surrender myself unto your lotus feet. Actually, those who are searching for the absolute truth must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship Him. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advised Arjuna many times to surrender unto him, especially at the end of the 9th chapter. He said, Manmaram bhava mad bhakto. If you want to be perfect, just always think of me. Become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. In this way, you will understand me, the personality of Godhead, and ultimately you will come back to me, back to Godhead, back home. Why is it so? The Lord is always full in six opulences, as mentioned here in wealth, renunciation, fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. The word purtam means in full. No one can claim that all wealth belongs to him. In this world, Prabhupada says, we say this person is rich, that person is rich, this person is so knowledgeable, that person is so strong. But then there's limitation, nobody can say they are full, complete, like Krishna is, he's full in all six opulences. He's full in knowledge, initiation, strength, and beauty. He's full in everything, and no one can surpass him. Another one of Krishna's name is Asamordhva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. So Kapila Muni is incarnation of the Lord. So this point is very clear. Kardama Muni is making it very clear. Now he's saying, I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is fully cognizant, who is the fully cognizant maintainer of all the universes under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestations after their dissolution. After the dissolution, all the material manifestations, everything will go and lay dormant within the Lord. Again, when the time is right, all the living entities take whatever, they appear in different bodies. They go through the cycle of birth and death and all that. So this is given here. 6 opulences. We have one more shloka, that's all. We'll do this. The 6 opulences, wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and realization are indicated here by Kardama Muni, who addressed Kapila Muni, his son, as Param. The word Param is used in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam in the phrase Param Satyam to refer to the Samam Bonam or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param is explained further by the next word, Pradhanam, which means the chief, the origin, the source of everything. Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. See, it's so clear. The Lord, God is a person, and this is his description. This is how he is. Everything is given to us, no confusion. Pradhanam, which means the chief, Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not formless. He is Purusham, or the enjoyer. There are many people, they'll argue, saying that God is energy. But if you read Prabhupada books, if you actually study the scriptures, it is very clear that Krishna has a form, God has a form. He's not formless. He doesn't have a material form, that's all. He has a transcendental form. He is Purusham, or the enjoyer, the original person. He is the time element and is all cognizant. He knows everything, past, present, and future, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says, I know everything, present, past, and future, in every corner of the universe. We know Kshetra and Kshetrajna. We learned that in Bhagavad Gita. There are 2 knowers of the body, the supreme knower, the Lord himself, and the soul. So the material world, which is moving under the spell of the 3 modes of nature, is also a manifestation of his energy. So this is the version of Vishnu Puran. We can understand that whatever we see is an interaction of the 3 modes of material nature. We are all under the control of the modes of material nature. If somebody is behaving in a certain way, we can tell actually whether he is in the mode of passion, mode of ignorance, or mode of goodness. But actually, it is all an interaction of the Lord's energy. Lokapalam is actually the maintainer of all living entities. Nityo Nityanam. He is the chief of all living entities. He is one, but he maintains many, many living entities. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Says, right? He is one. He is one. He is maintaining all the other living entities. God maintains everyone. But no one can maintain God. That is Swachhanda Shakti. He is not dependent on others. Someone may call himself independent, but he is still dependent on someone higher. That is true, right? There are many people think they are just independent. I'm so independent, they will say. But actually, if you read Bhagavatam, if you actually practice spiritual science, Krishna consciousness, practicing this, you'll understand we are not at all independent. We are dependent on the Lord all the time. The personality of Godhead, however, is absolute. There is no one higher than or equal to him. So Kapila Muni appeared as the son of Kardama Muni, but because Kapila is an incarnation of the Supreme, Kardama Muni offered respectful obeisances unto him with full surrender. He is offering respectful obeisances to his baby, actually, to his child. Another word in this verse is very important. Atmanubhu Tyanugata Prapancham. The Lord descends either as Kapila or Rama, Narsimha or Varaha, and whatever forms he assumes in the material world, are all manifestations of his own personal internal energy. They are never forms of the material energy. The ordinary living entities who are manifested in this material world have bodies created by the material energy. But when Krishna or any one of his expansions or parts of the expansions descends to this material world, although he appears to have a material body, his body is not material. He always has the transcendental body. But fools and rascals who are called Mudas consider him one of them. They think, oh, he looks just like us. Krishna is just like one among us. They think like that, but that is not so. And therefore, they deride him. They refuse to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they cannot understand him. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Avajananti Mamuda, those who are rascals and fools deride me. When God descends in a form, This does not mean that he assumes his form with the help of the material energy. He manifests his spiritual form as he exists in his spiritual kingdom. So now he says, I'm going to leave. He says, I'm going to take sannyasa. Please give me permission. And he says goodbye and leaves. This is very difficult to understand. The Lord is in front of him. The people are pure devotees, are craving to see the Lord, to serve the Lord, to offer respectful obeisances to his lotus feet, and how Yashoda Maya and Nanda Maharaj, had such an intimate relationship with their child, they considered him a child, but actually that was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here Kardama Muni has the child in front of him, but he's leaving him and going to the forest just to renounce everything and just think about the same Supreme Lord. He's going to be a sannyasi. That is his vow. Everybody is relating to the Lord in different ways, That was the rasa he was. That was his relationship with the Lord. Today I have something to ask from you who are the Lord of all living entities, since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my father. Because what do you mean by debts to my father? Because Brahma gave him instructions and he has fulfilled it. So his debts are cleared. And since all my desires are also fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. So if the Lord is in front of him, but Kardama Muni's desire is to do this. So this is the verse, and after this we'll stop. Actually, sannyasa or renunciation of the material household life necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self. One does not take sannyasa, freedom from family responsibility in the renounced order of life, to make another family or to create an embarrassing transcendental fraud in the name of sannyasa. Some people become sannyasis, go to some place, and there they'll have another family. They after sometimes they get married again. So that is not called sannyasa. It is the purity of the heart. The sannyasi's business is not to become proprietor of so many things and amass money from the innocent public. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. Of course, there are two kinds of devotees of the Lord. Goshtyanandi. In Krishna consciousness, we are all Goshtyanandi. What are we doing? Preaching the message of the Lord. That's what we are. So one is called Goshtyanandi, which means those who are preachers and have many followers for preaching the glories of the Lord, and who live among those many followers just to organize missionary activities. Other devotees are Atmanandi. They are self-satisfied. They do not take the risk of preaching work. They therefore remain alone with God. In this classification was Kardama Muni. He wanted to be free from all anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parivraja means an itinerant mendicant. The mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. He must be always moving, because his duty is to move from door to door and enlighten people about Krishna. So, Atmanandi, that's what he says here. He, in this classification, is Kardama Muni, is Atmanandi, self-satisfied, and he wanted to be free from anxieties and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of God. So this was the prayer by Kardama Muni. Then Kapila Muni will start speaking. So this is where the prayers by Kardama Muni stops. So I'll